the good fight that ADL has been waging for well over a century. The good fight to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and secure justice and fair treatment to all. Now, a few weeks ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was catching up with him about what I'm doing here at ADL and all the activity going on here in D.C. and around the country, how much work we were doing. He sort of turned to me and he said, it seems like the anti-hate business is a pretty good business to be in these days. It's sort of booming. And I sort of thought about it. I kind of realized he's right. I'd laugh, too, if it weren't true. I mean, for me, as the still somewhat new CEO, these past few years have been exhilarating. They've been challenging, maybe even a little bit frustrating. When you think about it, not too long ago, I think many people believed, probably many people in this room felt, the people at home really understood that the good fight had sort of been won. Anti-Semitism had been rooted out of many of the institutions of American life, where it had lingered and persisted for so long. And our own research at ADL showed that the sentiments behind it were on the decline. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen our audit of anti-Semitic attitudes. They were falling. And there were other major developments. Our brothers and sisters were freed from Soviet tyranny. African Americans and Latinos and other minorities were also seeing the fruits of our shared struggle with them for acceptance. I mean, think about it. Within the past decade or so, we not only had a vice presidential candidate who was Shomer Shabbos, we had a president who was African American. That's a kind of progress that many people, my parents, certainly my grandparents, wouldn't have dreamed possible. The support for Israel, support for the Jewish state, the startup nation, was manifest. It had sunk deep roots across many communities and in different sectors. And yet it seems, it feels like something's changed. And I'm not just talking about one election. No, not at all. There are larger developments that if you look closely, you can't see. But when you pull back the lens, right, suddenly things begin to take shape. And there are patterns that become apparent. I think in part you're here because you know what I'm talking about. Trends that have called into question some of the very progress I spoke of just a few minutes ago. So on the one side, we have the rise of thinkers and activists and leaders who reject the very liberal democratic order that arose from the ashes of World War II, with America as the champion, with America as the steward for a set of values, values like freedom of the press, or the freedom of worship, or the freedom of expression, or democratic accountability, and as the Deputy Attorney General literally just spoke of, the primacy of rule of law and the merits of diversity and inclusion. Whether in capitals like Budapest or Warsaw or Istanbul, or if not just in real life in the online world, animated by this alt-right, this new group believes that the bonds of common blood and ethnic ancestry are what makes a country a nation. And in this new world, make no mistake, Jews are not welcome. Latinos are not welcome. Those whose skin is darker or whose religion differs from the mainstream are not welcome. Refugees refugees who have fled unspeakable violence are not welcome. And yet, then you have the other side. And you have the rise of thinkers and activists and leaders who draw the lines differently. But make no mistake, they draw lines nonetheless. To them, all of those who have struggled for acceptance, for equality, all of those with whom ADL has fought, and alongside we have struggled for decades, they believe we do not necessarily share a common bond today. If you talk to an increasing number of these activists and leaders on college campuses, in social justice movements, their sense of solidarity, in their words, this contemporary intersectionality, has its own lines, its own boundaries, if you will, its own border wall. To them, Jews are on the outside looking in. Israel is not the rightful homeland of our people, but rather an oppressive apartheid state that does not deserve to exist. Zionism is not a national liberation movement. They preposterously describe it as something far worse. Anti-Semitism doesn't concern them. And to many, the oldest anti-Semitic tropes and conspiracies about Jewish power still resonate. Or at the very least, they do not seem to merit the condemnation reserved for racism or xenophobia or other forms of intolerance. You know, it's ironic, because we find ourselves in a world with thinkers and activists and leaders whose ideas are diametrically opposed to one another, who likely despise each other, and yet they actually have so much in common. And compounding the situation are changes in our media landscape, along with larger shifts in society that have coarsened our discourse and weakened our appetite for debate and compromise, which is at the heart of our democracy. This is why the work that we do, that you do in communities, and that we will do together here in our nation's capital over the next few days, is so vital. Look, don't get me wrong. It would be easier to retreat to one corner or another. It would be simpler to stick to a standard issue set of talking points published by some political party or blasted out on some blog, rather than to roll up your sleeves and fight for a solid and sensible and strong center as we seek to do. Alternatively, it might be easier just to lay low, not rock the boat, to shy away from taking a stand. But I got news for you. I won't do that. I know you won't do that, and ADL won't do that. In fact, I would say, and tonight I will assert, that our fight is needed now more than ever. That the right takeaway from the events of the past several weeks only underscore that the good fight against anti-Semitism and for equal justice, equal treatment, and equal dignity for everyone, no matter how you pray or who you love or where you're from, now it matters more than ever. So, When there is a nominee for high office that has spouted anti-Muslim and homophobic beliefs, you better believe ADL will speak out, even if it means we won't be invited to the holiday party. And when an LGBT group marches in the name of inclusivity, but hypocritically excludes Jewish marchers who promote and pronounce their Zionism, we will protest, and we will not stop until those people can hold their flag high and with pride, figuratively and literally. When authorities try to put in place a Muslim ban, you better believe we will take a stand and fight them in court. When those in power try to deny the centrality of Jews to the Holocaust, we will speak out for the 6 million. And when members of Congress align themselves with Holocaust deniers, ADL will ring the alarm. When a city councilman right here in the District of Columbia bizarrely claims that a Jewish family controls the weather, I wish, right? Or routes taxpayer dollars toward the anti-Semitic and bigoted and homophobic Louis Farrakhan. And when other prominent leaders who state that they oppose intolerance somehow fail to call out the intolerance of Minister Farrakhan, no matter what other good they profess, you better believe we will speak out. Now, like I said before, this work's not easy. It might be easier not to take a stand. I've had leaders call me and tell me, you know what, don't say anything. They call me, they email me, they text me on my phone. I could show you the texts. The fact of the matter is, this kind of honesty, it may cost us friends, it may cost us funders. In fact, I know that it has. It might even cost us some corporate partners. But we will not look the other way. Because these times, not only are they challenging, as I said before, they are clarifying. We will learn who we can count on versus those that we can just count. Because we don't do this work. I'm not standing here today because I'm seeking accolades. You're not sitting in this room because you desire attention. We are in this today because we are accountable to our mission and committed to a moral compass that was set out 105 years ago, which means we will not shrink from a fight if need be. When a college or university gives oxygen to BDS movements and allows Jewish students to be harassed and intimidated under the guise of political correctness, you better believe we are going to stand up for our kids, even at my own alma mater. And at the same time, when our kids ask us for help, you better believe we are going to listen to them. But we will need to steel ourselves. As we have seen firsthand, these fights, look, I'm not going to lie to you. They are tough. They are exhausting. And it's not easy for me, for my staff, and I know for many of you. I know because I get the emails. I see the posts. I read the tweets. Some days we're called heroes. Other days we're called suckers by the same people. And I know you feel it too. The right will tell us that we're caving to the left. The left will tell us we're caving to the right. And on the same day, that actually happened. But you know, when that happens, it's probably a sign that we are doing something right. You see, ultimately, I think that's what it means to be in the good fight. We know what we believe. We avoid politics, but we stick to principles. And no matter what they say, no matter what we hear, we will work at it, we will labor at it, and we will do the right thing every single day. Look, I am so proud, really humbled about the fact that we're not in this alone. Sometimes it might feel that way. Sometimes you might ask yourself, where are our partners? What are we going to do if we lose the left or the right? If we lose the government or the activists? But look at the lineup tonight. Look at the lineup this week. I'm proud of the fact that I was preceded by the Deputy Attorney General. I'm proud of the fact that the CEO of the NAACP, Derek Johnson, will be with us on Tuesday. I'm proud of the fact that Congressman Joe Kennedy will be here. I'm proud of the fact that outgoing Congresswoman Ileana Ross-Layton will be here. I'm proud of the fact that we will be joined not only by them, but by so many more speakers, not all of whom we will agree with, but all of whom we will listen to, all of whom we will learn from, and all of whom together we will fight that good fight. So I look forward not only to convening with them, but to literally communicating with each and every one of you. And to waging, like I said, together, that good fight to end hate and to secure justice and fair treatment to the Jewish people and to all people, now and forever. Thank you very much.